A nefarious nightmare contains themes that may be explicit or triggering for some. Specific warnings and disclaimers will be mentioned in the show notes. A nefarious nightmare assumes all parties that are mentioned in these cases to be innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Listener discretion is strongly advised. You can help us grow the show by leaving us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, or you can join our Patreon for lighthearted bonus content. With this, welcome to Season 5.
In an attempt to ruin my reputation in the society, if some extremist group makes a deepfake video of me forcefully trying to have sex with a woman and puts it up on the internet, you literally have no way of not believing that it's me. And while there's nothing wrong with having sex, pedophilia, infidelity, and promiscuity excluded, consent is the line between human behavior and bestiality. Suddenly, all my words and ideas would turn meaningless in your eyes. The only thing that may, just may, keep you from not believing your eyes is your understanding of my work. However, that's exactly the kind of world we are heading towards, where anyone can cook up any kind of video of someone to ruin their reputation. Keeping this in mind, we must proceed. We must raise our children with all the courage we can muster so that they can tackle the dark side of technology without committing suicide. Avijit Naskar, the Gospel of Technology.
On today's episode, we will be showing reenactments of some shared screenshots by this offender or offenders. We dive a little deeper into this investigation, and then we will hear from another victim.
At the time of writing this, new evidence has been brought to our attention, with one message sent to the victim in this episode, and then about 30 minutes later, our podcast email received an email. It's infuriating, but also laughable because at this point, these perpetrators don't seem to realize that we have them right where we want them. With that, I'm Courtney Fenner.
And I'm Amanda Cronin, and A Nefarious Nightmare presents Still Minding the Beehive, Surviving Sex Crimes, Part 3.
Before we dive in, real quick housekeeping. We will be at the True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival in Austin, Texas this year, August 25th through 27th. Get a discount on your tickets by visiting truecrimepodcastfestival.com and use code BEES, that's BEES, at checkout. We're going to have a blast. Also, don't forget to join our Patreon. Just $3 a month gets you bonus content and palate cleansers. Now let's get going. Today, we will hear from Paris, but before that, I want to bring something to light real fast. As of today, the day I'm writing this, Paris received a DM in her inbox from someone we believe is posing as a victim to gain information. Upon further investigation into this, we started to have reason to believe that the group chat that we all were in might have been infiltrated by a mole, and as we happened upon this discovery, we ourselves received an email from someone using a mixture of the name of one of the suspects and the town that most of this occurred in.
Brief trigger warning. We will read what the email said, but there is someone making light of an actual traumatic experience that occurred and proceeding to exploit that with what looks like a goal of shame, embarrassment, and potentially money. We don't click any links or open the pictures, but there were images and videos in this email. It came from a very well-known end-to-end encrypted email server, and the email proceeded to say, quote, "Hi, my name is Ashlyn. I got raped at 15 years old, and since then, I've been a really bad hoe. Sorry, can you help me get some new dicks, please?" End quote. And looking into it further, the general email signature was in Spanish.
If you haven't listened to parts 1 and 2 yet, we advise you to catch up on that so that you know why that last part is relevant. Plus, the first part of the upcoming reenactment is in part 2. As we dive further and further into this case, we are finding out that at least one of the perpetrators' primary languages is Spanish. We also are finding out that while they do know how to utilize certain phishing techniques and have slightly advanced tech know-how, that these perpetrators seem to be on the low end of advanced. Definitely more of a novice than an expert. We find out that this person or persons love to boast and brag about how they know what they're doing, but as we all know, the majority of perpetrators who sing like birds and flaunt their crimes absolutely do get caught. I guess what we're saying is, while not confirmed, we do know who at least 3 of y'all are, so in layman's terms, gotcha.
As we have said before, what's done in the dark will come to light. And now that we have the right kind of backing and help behind us, we will continue to move forward with what we are doing. We are finding out that at least one person who has claimed to be a victim of this perpetrator is actually assisting the perpetrator in some way. While that part is unfortunate and disappointing, we do want to say to that person, because we all know they're going to be listening, that we know you very well might have Stockholm in this case. We know you're afraid. We don't think you're completely guilty, but we do know you aren't completely innocent. We know you have been victimized in some form or fashion. We urge you to please be a better person than this and go talk to the police, because you very well could have been groomed and forced to do this. We feel that if you do speak out, and while we could not guarantee anything, that maybe, just maybe, leniency will be shown to you in exchange for tips and information. We also want to say that if you don't, someone will. So our advice is to come forward before someone does it for you.
And to the perpetrator or perpetrators, some of you have children, but some of you have also exposed and extorted children. You do know that what you're doing is literally possession of child pornography, right? To those of you who think this is awesome, you do realize it is at least a form of pedophilia, right? And while you are extorting these women, whether they've instigated it or not, out of the way, you have involved children. So this war you are trying to wage has become personal. And I guarantee you, you won't last long with what you're doing. And to law enforcement listening, please utilize these episodes for your investigation. We ask you because this has escalated beyond the point of children being victimized. I mean, all of this could have been prevented if it were taken seriously by you guys in the first place. But we're literally giving you all of the information. Please proceed forward with it how you will.
The following is reenactments of screenshots that we have received from victims. We want to explain to you that the reason we have chosen to reenact is so that, while you cannot see the screenshots, they will be read nearly word for word with timestamps if applicable. What form of social media was used, and names being changed to protect the innocent.
Narration: Jane X.
I wasted no time in reaching out to Fremont and Hooper, Nebraska police. However, they gave me the runaround, which was quite disappointing, despite the fact I was living in Florida at the time and the photo was taken in Hooper. We were convinced that the culprit was in Fremont. This was because every victim was either from Fremont or the surrounding area. It was quite disheartening to see that the police were not taking this matter seriously. As a result, I decided to contact KETV News in Omaha. They were quick to respond, and we arranged for an interview. The story was aired, and I was hopeful that the publicity would make law enforcement realize the gravity of the situation. I have been bombarded with messages from various accounts with fake names, all of which seem to be run by the same person. The perpetrator's poor English and cross-referencing from other conversations make it clear that it's the same guy. I tried to trace the IP addresses, but to no avail. The culprit uses a VPN, and I have no way to get around it. It's ridiculous that the person trying to hack into my Snapchat is also using a VPN, and the IP addresses are pinging all over the nation. I was hoping that the FBI would have some advanced enough technology to get around the VPN, but it seems like they're still in the dark ages too. The Hooper police told me they had sent the case to the FBI, but the Fremont police was still attempting to handle their case on their end, as far as I knew. It's a complete mess, and I have no faith in anyone's ability to solve this issue. In September, I got a message from another victim, Jane 2. She thinks she knows who the suspect is. Some dude from Fremont will call suspect 2. And why does she think that? Because she made an OnlyFans a few years ago, and he was her only subscriber. Talk about creepy. Jane, too, is also convinced he's the mastermind behind everything. So she messaged his baby mama on Facebook, and get this, when she was talking to the perp on one of his fake accounts, he mentioned something about her messaging his baby mama. But Jane, too, never told him about that. So how the hell did he know? That's some pretty damning evidence, if you ask me. Jane, too, was so sure that Suspect 2 was the culprit behind all this mess because Suspect 2's got some mental challenges, and the person behind this whole thing writes in broken English. I was pumped when I heard about this lead, so I talked to FPD, but guess what? They went to Suspect 2's place and found nothing. And they even said that Suspect 2's mental state is so bad that he couldn't even Photoshop images of naked girls, let alone blackmail people on the dark web. We're supposed to believe that Suspect 2 is some sort of criminal mastermind who's been pulling the wool over our eyes this whole time. And does it all make sense in a twisted sort of way? I wonder if Jane 2 is the one who's not telling the whole truth. I mean, how else would Suspect 2 would have known about her messaging his baby mama? It's either that or Suspect 2 and his baby mama are in cahoots. This whole thing is wild and disappointing, and at this point, I'm starting to think this whole thing is a dead end. We've got to get to the bottom of this somehow.
Suspect 2. Active now.
It was so easy for you to send my pictures to every single person I've ever associated with.
I'm deleting it. But promise me that you won't tell at my baby mamas.
But you at least tell me this. Why did you do it to these women in the first place?
Please.
That is my proof. I messaged your baby mama yesterday, and the only person that would know I messaged her is you. And you messaged me on your real account saying that I messaged your baby mama, and then you got on this account and admitted that I messaged her baby mama. I knew it was you from the minute you sent that message.
Because I like them. I think I'm sick. I don't know. Don't tell anybody about it, please.
Fuck you. I can't wait to see your mugshot on the news.
All I know is if I fall, you fall with me. I opened the porn page again.
Send me a link. I know your name. It's nice to know your real name.
Here's the link. Fuck all you bitches. If I go to jail and lost my kids, you'll see.
Before we hear from Paris, I want to take a moment to define the word incel, or involuntary celibate. Its origin comes from the 1990s as a blend of involuntary and celibate. It is defined by Merriam-Webster as a member of an online community of young men who consider themselves unable to attract women sexually, typically associated with views that are hostile towards women and men who are sexually active. Self-identified incels have used the internet to find anonymous support as modifier. It's not the first time the incel movement has been linked to violence. While we've yet to see typical incel behavior that you see all the time in the media, such as mass shootings, the way that some of these perpetrators have spoken out against women have completely given typical behaviors of that of an incel. The perpetrator or perpetrators behind this entire scheme they are actuating have expressed hateful and defamatory comments about and toward women. They have then exposed them and their most private photos as a form of revenge porn, and have also tried to find ways to profit monetarily off of it. And once again, while some of these pictures were willingly taken in the first place, some were not, and some were even altered by adding a face with an editing tool to a nude body. No matter the case, consent was never given. But the behavior behind all of this, as you all have come to find out, I'm sure, is definitely giving incel.
With all of this in mind, here is Paris.
My name is Paris. I was born and raised in Fremont, Nebraska. Where I'm from, everybody kind of knows everybody's business. It's big, but it's small at the same time. Everybody kind of knows everybody. If you're from there, everybody knows who you are, knows your family. My hobbies kind of consist of, I really like music. Music is a huge part of my life. I love all kinds of music. I listen to all kinds of genres. And I'm a very family-oriented person, so I hang out with, my family, my children. We go camping, fishing, and things like that. And I also like to play video games, too. So I have 2 children, an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old, a boy and a girl. And I would probably say that this started for me in June or July of last year, is when it was brought to my attention. I found out that I was on this website from a random Facebook profile had messaged me and said things along the lines of, you can do better than this, and come out here and we'll get you taken care of. And for a second, I thought that it was like, I was freaking out because I thought that they were like auctioning me off, and all of these people were messaging me and telling me that I was on this site, and it kind of felt like I was being like sold, is what I thought. I had no idea what was going on until I checked it out. And after I had checked it out, I kind of obviously realized what it was, and I got super scared, and I didn't really tell anybody about it, and then I had an actual profile message me and send me my pictures, but they were not a screenshot of my pictures, they were my actual pictures. And they told me that they were going to post these photos if I didn't give them like $300. Well, I was like, well, this is just a scam, whatever. Well, the harassment continued to keep going on after that. It was different profiles every time. And they were just telling me, asking me if I had pictures of these other women, and or if I didn't, they were going to post them, or that they were the only people that could take them down. So they were trying to get like my iCloud information to try and get on my phone to help me take it down. And I obviously never gave it to them. I just blocked them on Facebook because I thought that it would just go away. I didn't know who any of the profiles were, nor do I really know any of the people that are also people of interest. But there is the one profile, and I can't remember the name of it. I want to say it's like a Johannan Alex, or Alex Johannan or something like that. That had hit me up, that had tried to buy pictures from me. And that is the only person that I ever originally talked to. So that is originally how they got one of my photos. After I sent them that photo, they didn't give me any money. And then they sent me all of the other photos that they had of me and told me that if I didn't send them more, that they were going to post them. So that's how I originally ran across the first profile. But after I blocked that profile, there was many others after that. So, I have my ideas of who I think it is, but I don't know for sure. I can't really think of anything that led me to believe anything was going on. Besides, after I had gotten these messages, I had reached out to my mom. And then shortly after, I was getting, every time that they start messaging me is when they start talking to my family, my friends, trying to get more pictures or whatever. Like my current boyfriend, we've been together for like 7 months. And just a couple months ago, he had multiple profiles hitting him up, asking him for more pictures of me, offering him money. But asking for pictures of other women, So, like I said, the only thing that I can really think of that was weird to me is there was a guy from Ohio that had messaged me, and he had told me all of those things, like, you can do better. And I was kind of freaking out, and he was like, I want to help you, blah, 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 blah. So he added me on Snapchat, and he told me that he could like help me, he would do what he could to figure out who it was. But then the next day he was in Iowa, and I was like, why are you, I thought it was weird. And I'm like, why are you in Iowa? Like, you're making me really fucking nervous right now. And he's like, well, my mom lives in Iowa. And I'm like, so then I just blocked him because I got too scared. I thought he was coming to get me, to look for me, My family originally caught wind of what was going on from me, obviously. But then there was some people from work that my mom and my stepdad are friends with that sent them screenshots of got people asking them for pictures of me. I'm assuming just because we were Facebook friends, whoever it is super fucking desperate because they'll message my grandmother and be like, hey, do you have nudes of so-and-so, So like I said, like my family has been super supportive. Nobody has really, my mom has really, they haven't really helped me try to figure anything out, nor do I think that they kind of understand the severity of the situation. But my mom, she's my number one supporter. She's my best friend. She is super supportive, and they don't judge me or anything like that for what's going on, but their kind of outlook on it is, well, we told you that once you put anything on the internet or you send it to somebody, it's out there forever kind of deal. So I don't think they really quite grasp exactly the situation 100%. But they do support me as much as they can. There is the people at my job that are very judgmental about it. There is a lot of people that think that I'm just a whore, that I put myself on there. There is people that talk about my body, like already know what my body looks like, and they'll, the men at work will talk about it. And honestly, like, I feel like I deal with a lot of sexual harassment at my job anyways. And so I don't think that helped my situation at all. I can definitely say that it's very embarrassing for me as a person I'm 5 years sober, and I've really pushed really hard to get my life turned around. And I feel like this has really not helped my case. There is a lot of people who, it's very uncomfortable walking into a room knowing that everybody has seen every part of your body it's almost like being sexually assaulted over and over and over and over again. People constantly know are constantly talking about what my vagina looks like, or how well I give a blowjob. Things that they shouldn't know about me, they know, and it's hard. It's really fucking embarrassing. Especially like there's some things that my mother should never have to see, or God forbid my children, who knows what this person is willing to do to get what, they get off on making people feel less of themselves. And it has been really hard for me. When all of this stuff went down, I laid in my bed for weeks. I didn't want anybody to see me. I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. Everybody was asking me about it. Everybody was sending me screenshots. Oh, do you know that you're on here? Do you know that you're this? You guys need to figure out who it is. Well, yeah, we know we need to figure out who it is, but we can't. And nobody's willing to help. Nobody's taking it serious. And this messes with people's lives. There's people that kill themselves over things like this. It's not a joke, It's really not a joke, and it's really hard, and it makes me sad that my children have to grow up in a world like this, where, especially my daughter, where she's not safe. So you cannot trust men. Seriously. I called the police. I want to say literally it was the day after the guy was in Iowa, because I started freaking out. I thought that up until that point, it was just going to blow over, so eventually people were going to just stop looking at the site. It was just going to blow over and nobody was going to be interested anymore, like a phase. But after that guy I found out that guy was in Iowa, I called my local, I don't live in Fremont now. I live in Colfax County. And, so it's probably about an hour-ish away from Fremont. And again, I did that because I'm in recovery, and Fremont is just full of just very vindictive people. But that's besides the point. Anyways, so I contacted the Colfax County Sheriff's Department. They came out here, and I was very honest with them. I was like, there was a picture, one of the pictures I did send to him, but I don't know how he got the rest of them. And I don't know who it is. And so I sat here and I went through and I showed him all of the screenshots. He obviously saw all of my nudies on there. He made a report with me. He said that he was sorry. He wanted me to know that none of it was my fault and that he was going to continue to call me. And then he never called me. So I think it was like 4 or 5 days later, I called them back, and he said, well, I talked to Dodge County and there is an ongoing investigation. So, I'll kind of let you know as I know, I turned over your information, and I never heard anything. Nobody from the Fremont Police Department called me. Nobody from the Colfax County Sheriff's Department called me back. Nothing like that. And from what he explained to me is he said that it's hard to find out who's behind it, especially if they have multiple, multiple fake accounts, and if there's multiple people involved, it can be really hard to pinpoint exactly who it is. But I don't think they've took it very serious. And when I talked to him, he didn't really seem like it was a priority, you know, like it wasn't a big deal, or they thought somebody else was going to handle it. I'm not 100% sure. And it's also like they're not a police department, that's the sheriff's department. So I don't know if that matters or not, really. It makes me really, really think about who's all involved. Corruption is instantly, that's like they know something about it, or some of them are being blackmailed as well, if it's that deep, you know. I think that law enforcement obviously has the technical ability to do whatever the fuck they want to do any other time. They want to fucking bust somebody for drugs, they're all up on your shit, they're tapping your phone and shit, you know what I'm saying? But they're not willing to. So it's weird to me. I think that either number one, because like, I don't know if you know this or not, but there was a judge in Fremont, like a very long time judge, who just got in a bunch of trouble for like sleeping with this girl that he was, you know, judging. I don't know how the fuck you say that. And he was doing drugs with her, and he was letting her use her credit cards. Like, it's a whole corrupt situation. Everybody's, like I said, you really have to understand that 90% of the population in Fremont, Nebraska is on them. Okay. And so it is there's a lot of dirty cop situations going on. People, undercovers, tri-core, drug court, all those things. So I just feel like it's already a corrupt thing anyways. It would not surprise me if they had a hunch on it, and or if it's somebody involved in law enforcement. There's officers that get in trouble for, you know, sexually assaulting people, you know, and it gets swept under the rug. Somebody gets shot in Fremont and it gets swept under the rug. It's not even in the paper. Somebody dies because somebody stabbed somebody. It's not in the paper. They cover everything up. They want everybody to think that Fremont is just this perfect, beautiful place to live. And in reality, it's not. People get shot in Fremont too. And another thing that I would like to point out is, like, also, like I said, I am in recovery. I have been in recovery for 5 years, and I did used to be a sex worker. So I'm overcoming those things. And at first, I kind of thought that's what it was coming from, you know, because some of the pictures and the videos aren't from me of recent, and they're from, you know, when I was on drugs. So I feel like, so I actually went through some things when I was younger. I was raped when I was 15, and I was raped. Like, I couldn't hold my bowels. I had to wear adult diapers. I was beaten. And ever since then, my mom has already kind of had me like up under her wing. Like, I'm 26 years old and my mom calls me every day. She asks if I don't answer. She comes over to my house, like, what are you doing? You know, if I'm going somewhere, she's like, where are you going? Who are you going to be with? Even now. And I'm a grown ass adult, you know? So I think that me and my mom kind of have always had that relationship. I work with my dad and I work with my boyfriend. And so I can only imagine how they feel, you know, probably. And I mean, especially because I reached out to my stepdad and I sent him the bee and I asked him to post it, and he told me that you know, like he would love to support me and everything like that, and just explained that, like, it's kind of embarrassing for me, you know, that everybody thinks that I'm just this fucking whore, and people don't take the time to realize that, like, that's not who she is, you know. But I definitely think that, you know, my family looks out for me more. Like, if they see anything weird, or if somebody that they don't know likes my pictures on Facebook, they're screenshotting it to me, and my mom's like, who is this? My sister, it has also taught her to be more vigilant about what she's doing. She's younger than I am. She's 20. And it kind of really opened her eyes about, you know, who she should or should, you know, like, you probably shouldn't send pictures, you know. And for me, honestly, yeah. And it also made me also very insecure of my body. Some of the comments on the website were very, very hurtful. And I shouldn't have looked at it. And I honestly, when I went to go look through it, it almost made me sick having to scroll past all of those other women to get to see myself on top of seeing the comments that they made about me. Yeah, it was very hard. But my family and everybody's been, like I said, been super supportive, you know. So I would say that these people have 25, 30 plus victims. And some of them might not even know. Some of them are minors, yes. Some of them are minors currently. Some of them were minors in the photos or the videos that were exposed. You know, and yeah, some of them didn't even know that those pictures were being taken, like from the beginning. Like it wasn't even like, oh, let me show you my tits. And then years later, you shared it with somebody. These are pictures that you took of me that I didn't know that you were taking of me, or videos that you had taken that I didn't know that you had taken, and you shared them. Complete, like, you ruin trust for not only you, but every fucking body that we meet after that. Everybody that tries to get close to us. I don't believe that my family really, number one, I should say that I didn't really involve my family when I was like out there living my life, you know, like I didn't really come home. I didn't really communicate who I was hanging out with or what I was doing. And I really try not to, especially if it's something that I don't want my mom to know that I'm doing. I'm not going to tell her. And she 9 times out of 10 knows, like I said, everybody's mom and their dog. So she knows everything about everybody. So, I mean, but I definitely think that she's asked me. I mean, not really. Like, it kind of, like I'm telling you, like when this hit, it was really by surprise to me. Like I still to this day cannot even wrap my head around who, you know, like that's why when I say I don't think that it's just one person, or I really don't think that it's just one person, you know. I feel like this is multiple, it has to be multiple people. But no, my family really hasn't been like, hey, we think this is such and such. They do definitely think that it's somebody that I used to hang around with when I was on drugs, because they think that this is just that type of behavior. The most important thing to me is that whoever is doing all of these things and hurting all of these people and ruining all of these lives gets what they deserve. And just because some of us aren't, you know, we're misfits, or we don't fit into society, or we didn't make the best choices growing up, or we didn't have all of the things that somebody else had, doesn't mean that we deserve the things that are happening to us, to our family, to our children, at our jobs. Like we are normal people. We have jobs, we have children, we have mothers, we have lives. And when something like that is taken from you, it's really hard for you to have a positive outlook on life. I really want people to listen and understand and just kind of hear us. And you know, some of these people, maybe this is something that a woman needs to hear, that this will be her motivation. You know what? This is happening to me too. I'm going to say something. They're right. Just because I'm a sex worker doesn't mean that these people should treat me like this. Doesn't mean that I should be posted without my consent, or that I should be raped, or I should be stalked because people want, that doesn't, I want people to realize that we're not going to be fucking quiet. We have been quiet for long enough. We've let law enforcement try to do something about it, and they're not going to do anything about it. They're not going to do anything about it. So that means that we need to take matters into our own hands. And women are fucking strong. And we are all over the world going to get together, and we're going to figure out what the fuck's going on, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Remember when we talked in prior episodes how all victims of this react differently? Paris is a prime example of this. Upon first meeting her, you'd think that she was nonchalant and that none of this fazed her. She even tried to accept blame on herself for this and seemed near ready to give up. But despite the fact that she had initially had that attitude about it, I had a feeling in my gut that she was just as affected by this as anyone else, if not more so. And then upon speaking with her, I felt heartbroken for her, because at the end of the day, she is a human being who's trying to make a life for herself and for her family. She may have quote-unquote worn a short skirt at some point, if you get my drift, but as we all know, Wearing a short skirt does not invite or permit sexual assault, which is what happened to her. She was digitally sexually assaulted and exploited for the benefit of deviant incels. And Paris, I hope you know we won't stop until they do. Much love, girl.
Paris, as well as all of these victims and survivors, is a bee. Bees are strong, resilient, yet vulnerable. We must protect the bees at all costs. For without bees, we as a human race are doomed. So be vigilant. For when you mess with the bees,
You get the hive.
Thank you for listening to A Nefarious Nightmare. Music used in the theme was originally by Ghost Stories Incorporated, remixed by Ryan RCX Murphy. Additional background music is provided by Epidemic Sound. A Nefarious Nightmare is scripted, researched, and produced by Courtney Fenner and Amanda Cronin. This podcast is a Cloud 10 podcast, managed by Sim Sarna, Sahiba Krieger, and Jamie Rice of Murderish and Dirty Money Moves. I'm Lainey Hobbs, and as always, be vigilant. For when you mess with the bees, you get the hive.